Today's lesson will focus on volume. The objective of this lesson is to measure the volume of a solid figure using a formula. This is the fourth lesson in topic 15 of Envision. Volume is the number of cubic units needed to fill a solid figure. We do that by measuring the length, the width, and the height of a figure. Sometimes the height is measured in depth, how deep something is. So when I look at this set of cubes, one dimension would be measuring across this way. One would be measuring this way. And then lastly, how deep it is would go across this way. So we have length, width, and depth. So those are the three dimensions that we are going to use to measure the volume. When we talk about cubic units, we are measuring the number of cubes that can fit inside the figure. Sometimes they are small, and sometimes the cubes are as big as a foot. Sometimes they're as small as the centimeter. So when we talk about cubic units, we're putting like little cubes inside of the figure. So let's begin by talking about the difference between a solid figure and a plane figure. When I look at a solid figure, I'm going to look at this cube. This cube represents a solid figure. It has three dimensions. I can see the length, the width, and the depth all the way around it. Now, if I was gonna say it was a two-dimensional figure, then I would be looking at what shape? That's right, I would be looking at a square. A square is a plane figure. It is flat. I can only see the length and the width. So as you can see, the third dimension is the height, or how deep this figure is. And so that's the difference between a plane figure and a solid figure. When we are measuring volume, we are measuring the space inside of the solid figure. An example of this would be a swimming pool. A swimming pool is 15 yards long, 6 yards wide, and 4 yards deep. What is the volume of the pool? So I need to know how much space is inside that pool. So let's see, 15 yards wide, and it says, 15 yards long, 6 yards wide, and 4 yards deep. Okay, so there's my swimming pool. Now to find out how much volume is inside the pool, I'm going to measure those three dimensions. The formula for volume is length times width times depth or height. That's what we are going to use to multiply to find the volume of our pool. Don't forget, sometimes it's called height. So I'm going to put an H there, height. So that would be, length would be 15 times 6 times 4. So let's start with multiplying 15 times 6. 5 times 6 is 30. That's 6, 7, 8, 9. And now I have to multiply that times 4. 0 and 36. So the volume of this pool is 360 cubic, remember we said they're cubes, we're looking for the cubes inside, cubic yards. And that's how you find volume. Length times the width times the height or depth. Let's look at another example. What are the dimensions of this solid figure? So when I look at this room, a room is a good example of when you would need to compute volume, because you have how high the ceilings are from the floor to the ceiling, you have the width of the room, and you have the length of the room. If you were going to paint this room, you would need to know how long the wall is, how wide this wall is, and how tall from floor to ceiling to buy paint. So you would need to know the volume. Okay, so then we would use our formula, and our formula for volume is length times width times height or depth. Okay, so our length is 14 times 12 times 10. So I'm going to do 12 times 14. 4 times 2 is 8, and 1 times 4 is 4. Put down my 0. 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 1 is 1. And now I'm going to add 8, 6, and 1. Am I done yet? Nope, I have to multiply times 10. 168 times 10. And if you remember from our previous topics, we can just drop the 0 when multiplying times 10, and then multiply everything else times this digit. 1 times 8 is 8, 1 times 6 is 6, and 1 times 1 is 1. So the volume of this room is 1,680 cubic feet. And that's how you find volume. Let's try a couple more. I would like you to pause the video here and see if you can find the volume of these figures. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how you did. Remembering that the formula for volume is length times width times height or depth. So I have 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 times 2 is 8 times 4 is 32. So the volume of this figure, since I don't know what they're using, inches, meters, yards, is going to be, volume is 32 cubic units. And we don't know what that unit is, so we're just going to call it cubic units. All right, number 2. I have a 2, a 7, and a 1. Okay, so 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 7 equals 14. And I know it's meters, so volume equals 14 cubic meters. Okay, let's look at number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 6 times 2. So 4 times 6 is 24 times 2 is 48. So volume equals 48 cubic units. Okay, let's do the last one. 1, 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's start with 2 times 10 is 20 times 6 is 120. So volume equals 120 cubic units. Now it's your turn. Please find the volume of the following figures. Please do your work in box 3. And in box 4, name 2 times when you need to measure volume. That's all for now.